Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net's Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
And welcome to the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ian.
Hey, Ian.
Yeah.
Did you know you could find us on the Danger Entertainment Network?
Danger.
Danger Entertainment. That's right.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. It's a tad bit dangerous. You'd be shocked to find that out. You know, there's a bunch of great podcasts you can find there. Our friends from the History of Bad Ideas podcast, Who to What Now, Besotted Geek. No, they retired. That's right. They retired. But there are a bunch of other great podcasts you can find there, along with us. You know, we're the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast, and we do pop culture and chili cheese dogs and whatever else floats our fancy.
Yeah.
Check us out.
For sure.
For sure. We're on most podcatchers, so give us a look.
Peace.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast. And or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org, or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out and try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everyone. My name is Jen, and I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian. No Hanno.
Nope, no Hanno this week.
Unfortunately, Hanno got called to work. He had a work thing he had to do. So he won't be joining us, unfortunately. We'll miss you, Hanno, but look forward to you going first next week.
Yeah, true. He will be.
Exactly. We got rules.
Yep, then we do. Love it.
Will, do you want to start us off tonight?
Yeah, I will. So really, like, the bulk of my week really has been spent just being miserable from migraines because of our weather. I talked about a little bit on Salty Language. It's just, we've had so many rainy days, and it's just been brutal on my sinuses. I think in the last 3 weeks I've had about 3, maybe 4 days with no headache.
Ugh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's just been awful. And, I've still been trying to get up and do some things, but, you just hit a point where you just can't. Because it just hurts too bad. Everything. Noise, smell, sight, like everything, all your, like the senses from your head all are just like, even talking sometimes can be too much because the sound of your own voice is too loud in your own head. It's that bad sometimes, so I just, took the medicine I have, and it does okay, but it doesn't really completely kill them. In fact, most of the time what it does is the best I hope for most of the time is that it drops them to a dull, like, ache, because that's at least tolerable. So, yeah. It's time for me to go back to the neurologist. The thing is, part of me really wonders if, I really think this is more than a neurologist situation. Like, I really think this is an ear, nose, and throat kind of thing, as I have for years. I just, part of me wonders if, there's something.
Might help.
Yeah, there's something that they could do. And it's funny. I've been going to doctors for years, telling them I have sinus headaches, all this stuff. My brother goes in one time to this doctor he goes to and says, hey, I have trouble sleeping, I snore, blah, blah, blah. Boom, next thing you know, he's in an ear, nose, and throat specialist. They're going to be doing a procedure on him. And it turns out he's got, like, the best guy in the area who's a pioneer of where they put the balloon up your nose, like they would do an angioplasty, like that surgery. The one that I, saw years ago and was like, ooh, I bet that would do me a lot of good. Yeah, he's getting that done by that guy.
Nice. Of course.
Yeah, and at his pre-surgery visit, the person he was talking with was like, how'd you get an appointment with him? And he's like, I don't know, my doctor scheduled it. And the guy goes, wow. He's like, usually you got to book way out to get him. So somehow my brother just lucked into, like, the scenario that honestly I feel like I should have had when I was like 12,
Oh, that's a heartbreak.
And I'm not going to lie. I'm really jealous. Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. I want him to get the help he needs, too, because I know he's had a lot of breathing issues over the years. But, it's like, man, it's like he doesn't have the headaches, though. He just sleeps terribly. But, yeah, I understand, though. I know what it is with the doctor I'm seeing now is the insurance I have is one of those insurances, like most probably, that it's you have to go through A, B, C, D before they'll pay for you to go to a specialist, So I've probably got to exhaust everything he can do before they'll allow him to refer me, which stinks, but, what can you do? It's, got to play within the rules, so.
Oh, yeah. Insurance companies, it's just a big racket.
Yep.
Don't get me started, but it's just a big racket.
Yeah.
We have a piece of medical equipment for my husband to help his bone fuse, and the initial cost we were told out of pocket, if we pay for it up front, and they'll bill us for it, it would be like $1,050.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't go through the insurance company. We're like, okay, no problem. That's fine. We'll take it. They submitted it to the insurance company anyways. They submitted it to the insurance company for like $5,000.
Yeah.
The insurance company covered $1,500 of it.
Oh my God.
They're now trying to charge us with the rest of it. It's like, what? You got more money than what you initially that you were going to get from us out of pocket from the insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not good enough.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
It is so ridiculous. We're refusing to
Jeez.
pay, so
Yeah,
who
I
knows
don't
how
blame
this
you
is
on that.
out. But yeah, we're like, no, we refused. We will not pay for
Yeah,
that.
it's like we
You can
agreed
come
when
get
it was this much money, not, you know. Yeah.
They're like, well, it's because we submitted it to the insurance company. It's like, yeah, we told you not to.
Yeah, that's on you, not on us.
Yeah. You just took upon yourselves to submit it to the insurance company to see if they would cover it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, I mean, you know, let's be honest, they were hoping the insurance company would cover X amount, and then you guys would just pick up the difference, and they'd get all the money, basically. Yeah. I mean...
Because there's... Hey, we can't just come up with, you know, $3,000 or $3,500 out of pocket.
Yeah.
No. Can't.
I'm surprised they weren't like, well, we can do payments, you know, because that's usually the move. Did they?
Payments, and they probably would on this too.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well, it's like for one of the debts I have, I got a letter in the mail the other day that was like, you know, we know life can be tough, and it's like, you know, but we're willing to work with you. You know, we'll take monthly payments of, I think it was almost $80. I'm like, if I could pay $80 a month, I've been paying the bill. Like, like, what's wrong with you? Like, it'd been different if they had come at me with like, hey, $20 a month or something, you know, because then you're like, well, you know, it's easier to come up with. But it's like, man, most people can't just randomly free up $100 a month, you know, or the better part of it.
Just stop your Starbucks habit. Duh.
Oh, yeah. Well, that'll save me a whole $0, so. Yeah. But, yeah, some of this stuff is so goofy. But
yeah. I derailed us. Sorry.
No, it's fine. But, yeah. So it's, you know, that's whatever with the headaches. The upside, I don't remember if I mentioned this last week or not, so, but I get to go back to my urologist tomorrow, to get another testosterone shot, because my hemoglobin finally got under control.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I go for another shot tomorrow? Yeah, I think it's tomorrow, and then before I go back again in 2 weeks, I'm supposed to have blood work done so they can look, because he wanted to give me a couple of shots to see if my hemoglobin was going to immediately spike or if it's a slow climb. Because if it's an immediate spike, we may have to do something different, because, you know, it's not good for you to have long-term levels, you know, high levels of hemoglobin, I guess. So, but for now, it's, you know, it's good news, I guess. So it's not bad news either way, you know, because even if it does spike it, you know, he even said, you know, there's options. And plus, you know, he's mentioned to me about, like, if we see that it is going to elevate it, for me to then start regularly giving blood, basically, if I want, you know, to counter it. So he said usually that works. So, although last time it took it a while for mine to come down. So usually once you give blood, your number starts coming down. Mine still took a few weeks after. So
really,
yeah, I don't know why, but, you know, I must have that real thick blood.
The older I get, the more I realize how different all of our bodies really are from each other. It just is, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my husband heals really, really slow, which it's like, really? You know, I never thought that was a thing, but I guess it is a thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Yep, and it slows down as we age too, you know, so it's, that's why they were so surprised when I was first, you know, after the first kind of rounds of that, when I first had the blood work done after having testosterone, you know, when they saw my number and they were like, geez, you know, like, because they didn't expect it to go where it did, you know, like the guy was like, you know, like, your level's higher than most 20-year-olds, you know, like, he's like, we were just hoping to get the number up. He's like, man, you just went to the moon. So, you know.
Flipping cars over.
Yeah. Well, that's what he was telling me. He was like, you should, you know, he's like, if you have any thoughts of working out, now's the time. And he's right, because I'm 40, you know, so naturally my testosterone will decline, even though I'm getting a supplement of it. but my body itself is not going to produce it at the rates that it used to. So, the older you get, the harder it is to build / maintain muscle or burn fat, all that stuff. So he's right. This really probably should be my turning point. So that's what Tony keeps telling me. He's just waiting for one of these times he comes over to pick me up and I'm just all swole walking out. I was like, yeah, because that's going to happen in like 2 weeks, Like I just pick up a weight and all of a sudden I'm built,
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but he is right. I really should be taking advantage of it because it's there, like, so. And it's not like I, couldn't use a little bit of exercise anyway. So, kind of win-win there. But yeah, it's, and it's funny. It's like, well, not funny, but the other thing this week is, Father's Day is coming up, and Father's Day is always difficult for me. And, sure. But something, I didn't even think of it until yesterday, and I love this. My therapist asked me a long time ago, like when my dad's birthday is, when the day he died, like the days that are hard for me. And I was thinking about it yesterday that I always seem to have therapy that week. Like right before that, or it'll be like immediately after. Be like that first Monday or Tuesday after that. And it's something I hadn't really thought about until today. Because I have therapy Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. It's Wednesday or Thursday. So,
Good timing.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it's been on purpose. Like before we went to Chicago as a group, she had me come in, just kind of to help with any pre-trip anxiety and whatever that I had. And, and that was, a really good idea. And ever since then, if there's something coming up like that, I'll try to schedule that way. And I noticed, it seems to work really well for me. So I'm glad I have that this week. Although, like, I think the last few years, it's like, it hasn't been it still hurts, but it's not like it used to be as far as the, like, all I did was lay in bed because everything just sucked kind of days. It's usually not that bad anymore.
Yeah.
Which is good. So, yeah. And then the last thing is, my doctor a few weeks ago lowered my Wellbutrin level down, and I've noticed no drop off. Like, I don't feel like I have less energy or I'm more sluggish or whatever. So, I think this coming week I'm gonna make another appointment with him to get in and see, or just call and see if he will allow me to step off of it. So we'll see. Because it's just one of those things. It's, if I can eliminate a medicine I don't need, why not?
Huh, right. I mean, if you're doing good without it.
Yeah, and I can always go back on it later. It's not like I can't go back to it if I need it.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yeah. So yeah, that's trying to think. Yeah, that's been about it. It's, like I said, the headaches have pretty much shelved me most of the week, so I don't have a whole lot that I did. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I went out for our friend T. His 40th birthday was a few days ago. And
wow.
Yeah, I know, our little T's all grown up now. And if you're a Salty Language listener, he's the one we refer to as Soundboard T. So yeah, him and Tony headed out the other night and had a few beers and just hung out all night, and then, just had a good time. So that was nice. It's kind of, I've always been one that I've never been a big group person anyway, but I appreciate, I think as I get older, more of a just 3 or 4 of us hanging out for a little while, because you can actually all be part of the conversation and, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was a good time. It was a much needed good time. No anxiety of any kind. It was just, because we weren't really doing anything. We just sat around and talked. So but it was cool.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have, a pretty good week. I mean, I'm kind of on a roll right now, having a pretty standard, pretty good week. One thing that we kind of talked about a little bit before the show that I'll talk about a little bit here is it's funny because I wouldn't want to call it mania because I don't think I'm full-fledged gone into mania, but I can definitely tell my emotions are ramping up, and I'm feeling things a lot more than I have been in the past, and I have been having a few drinks, so I know that affects my I can't talk. My medicine.
Yeah.
So if alcohol and my medicine are not a good combination, I shouldn't drink.
Right.
But,
I shouldn't either. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pass any judgment on that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's a tough thing to give up 100%. So I've been kind of watching that because I know there's a direct correlation to me drinking a lot and the medicine not working and me having more emotions.
Right.
So I've got to I recognize the correlation there. The good thing is I've been keeping all the crazy pretty much under control and not letting it go too far. But it's funny, like little things that I'm picking up on. Like I have a friend on Twitter that I talk with a lot that never retweets me. And, and hardly ever likes my stuff. And I know it's really inconsequential in life if someone retweets you or likes your stuff.
Right.
In the scheme of things, and like if we're talking perspective here, I realize that it's silly. And I also realize there's a good dose of jealousy because he does retweet and like other people's stuff, which I feel my stuff's better. But
right.
Again, I completely recognize the fact that there's some distorted thinking happening here. There's some jealousy happening here. There's a lot of different emotional stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
The good news is I've been able to handle it in a constructive way and recognize that these feelings exist. They are what they are. I'm allowed to have them because I have no choice. It's just part of it. This is what happens in life. You have emotion. You don't have to react on them.
Right.
So, I've not been passive aggressive about it. I've not even mentioned it. And I thought about it. Maybe even typed it up, but I've never sent it. And but I know he doesn't listen to this podcast, so I think I'm clear there too. But
I'll
you
make
never
sure.
know.
I'll make sure he does. No.
So it's one of those things. So I just have to, that's the good part of it. It sucks that I'm having to deal with a lot of emotion and a lot of teenage little stuff. That's the sucky part, is that I'm kind of having to manage through stuff that kids manage through. But the good news is I'm managing it through as an adult. I'm recognizing it for what it is, and I'm keeping it in the perspective that it needs to be kept in.
Yeah, you're not like some of the people I've seen in the past on Twitter where they'll have a timeline meltdown and they'll just like post like 20 different tweets about stuff and you're just like, whoa, like, yikes.
Somebody made them mad.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and that's the thing. I'm not mad about it, which, honestly, like I said, it's more of a me thing. It's more of not mad at him. It's me being jealous and me being, dealing with these little emotions and stuff that as adults we still have, but the difference between us being adults and us being teenagers, when we're teenagers, we don't know how to deal with them, so we deal with them inappropriately and react upon every emotion that we have. As adults, we have to learn to recognize the emotions for what they are and understand which ones that we need to react upon and which ones we don't. So.
Yeah, we hope so, at least.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
We'll put that out there. That is the goal of the thing. So
Yep.
that's what we're aiming for.
Right.
So far, I've been fairly successful.
Well, that's good. Especially,
Yes.
I mean, it's good, especially because, like you said, with you feeling all the emotions and whatever like that, that's usually where that stuff kind of can become a real slippery slope. You know,
Yes.
it's hard sometimes to, wrestle them emotions back.
Oh, trust me, it's not been easy. I've been fighting against. It's almost like I feel like I'm fighting against my nature.
Yeah.
I posted. I'm actually. One of the things that I tweeted was I'm actually a high. Oh my gosh, what's that? I've lost the word that I was thinking of. High maintenance. I'm actually a high maintenance, overly emotional female. I just hide it really well, or at least I think I do.
Right.
It's true. So I try to hide my crazy. I try to keep it under control. Some days it slips out more than others.
Right.
But,
Yeah. It gets that way for all of us,
Yeah. And then this weekend, so my brother is coming into town. So my brother's going to be staying with us. So in the next few days, we get to do the house clean, pick up the house, make sure it's, guest ready.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, so he's coming into town, so we'll get together with my father and do the whole Father's Day thing. And then Saturday I have a party to go to, and I haven't gone to a party in a while. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a big weekend, a lot of fun stuff this weekend. But definitely, I'll report back and how it goes. In my state of emotions, hopefully it goes fairly well. I don't foresee any issues.
Yeah. Well, especially as long as, like, if you're going into it aware of it too, to where you pay attention to how you're feeling in the moment and stuff. Like, hey, I need to go outside for a minute, or, like those kind of things before something kind of, goes sideways on you.
Exactly. And that's where I'm really trying to keep things, is that I'm trying to keep things from going sideways. I'm trying to keep as much perspective as possibly can on stuff. And reaching out to friends. I had a very good talk with a friend of mine. I believe it was even Friday, that I basically just bared it all out for him. Like, I know I'm being silly. I know I am completely losing perspective, and understand that I'm not thinking rationally, but I need to get all of this out of my head in a safe place so that I can process it and compartmentalize it, and then work through it and deal with it.
Right.
So I'm using my tools.
Well, that's good.
Yes. So trying.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. It's not always the easiest thing to do.
And for those out there that say that there's social media, and we've talked about this before, but those out there that say that social media, you cannot make friends and you cannot have connections with people via social media on your phone. It has to happen in real life. I'm sorry. You're just wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but you're just wrong.
Yeah.
It just, you're not doing it. You're doing it your way, which is fine, but.
Well, the way I've looked at it is because I used to get in arguments with people about that. And then one day I was talking with somebody and I was like, you know what? I was like, you're right. You can't make friends that way. I can.
You're absolutely right.
It's like, if you don't feel you make friends that way, then I guess you don't, but I feel I do, so I do. And that's,
Yeah. Because I will call them my friends.
Yeah.
I will some of the people I talk with are acquaintances, and some people I talk with are friends.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference in social media. There's also a difference in my real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, how many times over the years have you referred to somebody as a school friend or a work friend or, so like, yeah, it's like if you can make friends in that capacity, then you can definitely make friends on this, where you're talking to the people every day. You talk about really, personal things, stuff like that, like knowing about people's families or struggles they're going through or whatever. It's like, I do now because of the podcast, but as I say, I don't tell random strangers about struggles or personal things, and even still, even with the podcast and everything, not everything I deal with comes on the show or Salty Language. There's always still an element that you've got to be in my inner circle to know about, So, yeah, I don't know, whatever. Like I said, I think it's just friendship is subjective, and so many things are because of how there's been a lot of words devalued by the internet, and friend is one of them. Love is another one, because everybody loves everybody, and with friend, I mean, Facebook basically, social media in general, not just Facebook, but, it's like, oh, you're my friend. Oh, you have 7.8 billion friends. Okay.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
But how many do you talk to?
Yeah, exactly. 4? Yeah. Yeah.
So, I won't get on a high horse about that, or a soapbox, but just my thoughts on the matter.
Yeah.
So, I think you have our article for the day.
Yep. And I'm writing something down. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this was from ideas.ted.com, which I've been going to at least once a week, a couple times a week, because they post just a bunch of stuff. I think a lot of it is meant to kind of get conversations going. Because I mean, like the catch line of the TED stuff is explore ideas worth spreading, and, and luckily most of these are based on someone has given a TED talk, whether it's the really long TED talk or the hour-long TED talks, or if it's the shorter ones, because there are ones where people have 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I don't remember. Anyway. This one is on, the title of the page is, How to Change Your Relationship with Food and Stop Eating Your Feelings. And, before we get into it, it's like a lot of people listening may be like, oh, well, I don't have a problem with that. And I didn't think I did either until I really started putting some thought into it. In that, a lot of times having issues with food ends up being, if you're treating your relationship with food in a shameful manner, you've got a problem with food. And that's where it finally clicked in my head that I did, because I started tracking my food intake on, one of those apps, and I was doing it because a lot of times migraines have triggers. So I was doing it to start looking for triggers for my migraines to see if maybe there was anything food related, which I've had before. There was a while, what was it? There was something I was drinking that had sucralose in it every day. And I could not get rid of a headache. And I was talking with a friend of mine, and she was like, yeah, quit drinking that stuff. I quit drinking it, and within 2 days, I didn't have a headache for a week after that. So, and then I tried drinking more of the stuff, and I instantly got a headache. Now, it may not be the sucralose. It might have been something else in there. But no matter what it was like, okay, well, this is something I need to avoid. Kind of a gimmick. And I've known for years, when I drink aspartame, headache, blah, blah. So, that was my point behind it. But what I ended up finding is that most of my calories come after everybody else is in bed. And I was like, huh. Now, part of it, of course, is because I watch TV more than, so there's that element of boredom in eating, Sure. But there's also an element of that's when my depression really shows its ugly head. And, you know, what better way to deal with depression than eating things that make you happy, right? That's a perfectly healthy way of dealing with depression. So that's what I ended up finding out. And like, you know, upon talking to my therapist about it, she very much confirmed that, you know, like, yeah, you're replacing something with food, or using food to replace something that is a deficiency, you know? So don't overlook that kind of thing. And I know, you know, cause it was for years and years. Like, I know you and I had talked for years, Jen. Remember how many times did I be like, I don't have a problem with food. Like, I don't use food as a this or that. And it's like, yeah, actually I do. I don't do it through the day so much. But once everybody's in bed, I'll, you know, sit there and eat and eat and eat and eat, you know?
Nighttime eating is a bad habit that a lot of people have, and it's, you know, it comes from a lot of things, and it all, like you mentioned a few of them, and it all kind of goes back to you have to break yourself down a bit and figure out what your core is, what the motivation behind you eating and eating and eating and eating what you want to eat. Because, I mean, I know personally, I'm just now that I'm 40, you know, getting to the point with food that I don't have a healthy relationship with it per se, but it's healthier than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
I still don't make the best choices as far as what I'm eating, but my portion sizes are better, and I don't feel I have to eat things.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me, is that I grew up in a household where food was doled out, and you couldn't eat everything you wanted to eat. You couldn't eat as much as you wanted to eat. You ate what was on your plate, and that's all you got. So it was very difficult for me to kind of break that habit of wanting to eat all the foods and to hoard the foods, you know, and that type of thing. So it took me many, many years. So I'm finally at the point now that I can have things in the house, you know, such as we've had those miniature bags of chips. I bought them because I knew that they're already pre-portioned.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to worry about portion size. I can just grab a little small baggie if I wanted some chips or whatever. We've had those for almost a month now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive, because I don't like that. Do you mind if I talk? Okay. Like I remember days like getting up and, you know, you having told me that you essentially crushed a bag of chips, you know, by yourself without really meaning to, thinking about it, whatever. And, you know, I think we've all done it, but, you know, like, it was a concern, like, for you, you know, and like when I do it, it's the same way. Like, was it a couple weeks ago? I sat down and ate a whole bag of Cheetos, and I didn't realize how many I'd eaten until it was almost gone. And honestly, the first thought that popped in my head right then was, well, I might as well just kill it off.
Yep.
Like, why? You know, like, just roll the bag up, have the tiny amount the next day or something. Like, just, nope. I might as well finish it. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Been there. On that.
So, yeah, the fact that lasted a month, that's good. You know?
And that's the thing. I mean, I'm at the point now that I know the food is in the house and I can eat it, but unless I'm craving it and really want it, I don't have to have it.
Right.
And before it was, I had to have it. I mean, there was no stopping it. It was in a primal need that was driving me.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, I think I've mentioned it before, but like if someone brought a cake into work, if someone offered me cake, I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, I couldn't say
and not
no.
because of politeness. You know, it wasn't like, well, I don't want to hurt any feelings. It was just, ooh, cake.
I may not even want the cake, but because it was offered to me, I needed to say yes. I had to have cake.
Yeah.
I don't really care for cake personally.
Right, I don't
my
either.
choice.
Yeah.
If someone offered me a cookie, a brownie, or cake, I'd take a cookie, probably then brownie, and then probably cake.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe first, depending upon the mood. But cake would always be a third choice there.
Right.
That's the way I roll.
Yeah.
But it just, they have to have that cake. It was just,
right.
And it's tough dealing with food issues, and I still have that that feeling of being judged
mm-hmm.
when you eat in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
That even though you're not being judged for the most part.
Yeah.
Some people may, but for the most part, you're not being looked at. You're not being judged by what you're eating when you're eating.
We still live in a world where, much as we hate it, it's like women are definitely going to be treated differently that way than guys. Because, if you and I sit down, we both just make absolute hogs of ourselves. Most people look at me and go, hey, he's a big dude, or no wonder he's fat, whatever, and with you, I'm like, oh my God, she ate all that, Whereas I don't know how many female friends I've had over the years that eat more than me. Like, it's just, and, because it really shouldn't have anything to do with that. But for, and it's like, how many times I've heard or read stories about, like women on dates and stuff where they'll get the salad or they'll eat very dainty portions because they don't want the guy to think they're a pig or something. It's like, I think more of you if you just sat down and eat what you wanted to eat, like, now if you sit down and order like a, 40-ounce steak, I might be like, really? Like, but then again, I might not, because I might be like, I'm going to see if she can eat this. Like, because I don't care who you are. That's a lot of steak. Like, I watched The Rock a couple weeks ago on his Instagram. For his cheat day, he had a 33-ounce steak, a 1 pound baked potato, and I feel like there was something else. I'm like, oh my God. Like, but you look at how many calories that dude's burning, he can handle it, but.
A lot of food.
Yeah. I'm like, dang, like anything over a 12-ounce steak, and usually I'm a little like, this might be too much. So, but you're right. Hopefully people aren't really paying attention to it because more and more people are more and more sensitive to people having food issues, whether it's a full-on eating disorder or if it's just like this where it's, it's still a situation that people, like you and I were talking here, like that we monitor because we're trying not to do these things, but we can control them, to some extent. And I'm sure the medicines we're on probably help to some extent.
Yes, I know mine does.
Mine's supposed to help, like suppress appetite, but clearly my appetite's stronger than that medicine. So it doesn't.
Yeah, mine does affect my appetite. So I have noticed that.
Well, I was thinking that too. Plus the compulsiveness, the like gotta, kind of thing that I would think they kind of help with that sometimes, but. I don't know, man. Sometimes that draw is just too much,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, for the most part, I don't have that compulsion, which is good. And you're right, medicine is a big help and big proponent in that. But also, I think it's just took me a long time, and I'm finally turning that page, shall we say, and at least getting a better relationship with food.
Yeah.
Now I just need to get a better relationship with exercise.
That was the thing. It's like my issue. I always kind of hope that because when you're younger, typically, not always, but typically, one's palate craves sweet. Like kids' palates tend to crave sweets at I forgot if it's like 2 or 3 times the level of most adults, right? But as you age, your body starts craving. Yeah, it starts craving savory stuff more. And I've always been like, I've had such a sweet tooth over the years, and I've always been like, okay, when's it gonna start craving something that isn't, sugar, So yeah, it's strange. But again, like the other stuff, it's like if we're aware of it and again, like you said, it's like if you can give into it and still be able to, like having all those bags of chips and not sit there and eat all of them or 5 of them in one setting, you know, like the big draw for me with that kind of thing a lot of times used to be that my laziness outweighed my craving. So if I had one of those bags of chips with me, I'd be like, they're all the way over there. Like I wouldn't bother to get up and go get another one. So that doesn't always work though.
No, not always.
Yeah. So it was like, I remember we used to keep like those bite-sized Snickers, and it was like, okay, these work, except for the fact that every time you're up and walking through the kitchen where they were, it's just grab 1 or 2 of them.
Exactly. We'll stick them in the freezer. That'll help.
Yeah.
No. They're amazing in the freezer too.
Yeah. Like, didn't we just buy these? Yep. So, and there is also I do want to point out, it's like, just because you act like this doesn't mean that there's necessarily like a real problem here either. It's really, it comes down to, like I said, with mine, that I'm finding that I'm doing all of this eating and it's not in the living room or where people are. It's in my room where, the trash gets emptied separately. No one's going to see what I've eaten, that kind of stuff. So it essentially, it's the shame part of it and the hiding that kind of tip the scale more toward that it's a problem than, look, if you just sit down and eat a bag of chips, like I said, I think we've all done that at some point just because they just taste so good,
Yeah.
But if you do this on the regular, that's probably where you have a problem, but whatever.
And that was always my big thing, when you would get up and we would talk, I hated to do it, but I needed to tell you what I ate because otherwise I'm burying bags of stuff in the garbage. And
I was going to point that out because I remember that one day when there was something in the garbage. I don't remember what it was. And when I went to put it in there, it moved some stuff. Like I threw like a jar or something in there. And when it did, it moved stuff. And I was like, did you eat all the chips? Because I knew there was a good amount of them left. And you were like, yeah, and I'm like, because I remember like looking at you and going, did you try to bury these? Because first of all, honestly, it was weird because it wasn't even like me going, she might have a problem. It was am I making you feel like you need to do this? Because I knew your history too. So, but I just remember like having that thought, like, am I contributing to this in that way, and, and like you said, that's a problem. If you're doing it just, for the shame and stuff, that's no good.
Yeah. Anytime if you feel that you can eat, that eating anything is a reward, is a shameful thing, is a punishment, all of that is attaching emotion to food.
Mm-hmm. And you have to be very careful with it,
Yeah.
Because I'm not against, hey, if I do this, I can have a bowl of ice cream or whatever, But if I do this and then I have all the ice cream, like I'm going to have a quart or a pint or a gallon.
Or the reverse, whereas I can't have this until I've done this.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a slippery slope there because, that's when you can start getting into some serious food issues.
Yeah.
Because, I'll be honest, at one point in my life, I would only eat what I burned off on a scale.
I know plenty of people who've done that. Yep.
Like on the machines.
Mm-hmm.
I on a machine and I'd take, whatever number of calories I burned on that machine, and that's what my food caloric take was that day.
Yeah, and that's no good.
That's no good either.
Yeah.
And food was a reward, quote unquote reward for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Oh, I had an uncle that used to just go to the gym so that he could come home and eat a quart of ice cream.
Yeah.
That was how he justified it.
And I get the fact that, yes, if you work out hard or whatever and you want to stop by and get yourself a scoop of ice cream on the way home to reward yourself for a hard day's work, I get it. There, for the most part, that's not.
I have to say this because I know Henno will listen to this, is that him and I have had conversations about sitting and eating like all of the gummy candies, or all of the which I know you can identify with too, because you and I are both terrible about those too. Yeah.
Gummies.
Look, I mean, I'm like I've got a small bag of some sitting right next to me. Or eating all of the ice cream, because he mentioned the other night when him and I were talking that he was gonna go have a little ice cream, and I told him I just pictured him like nestling up in bed with like the whole quart or pint or whatever it was of ice cream and just eating all of it, and turns out he did. So, but yeah, it's what I said. It's like, we all do those kind of things. That's the kind of stuff that, like you were saying though, it's like, don't overshame yourself if you do. Don't beat yourself up too hard for it. I mean, it's just like with anything. If you're on a diet and you fall off the wagon, it's like, just dust yourself off and get back on it. Don't kill yourself, or don't completely throw it aside for, because you made one, if you want to call it a mistake, it's not worth it. We all should enjoy the food we're eating. Because there's so much good food that to not enjoy it is a real shame, So, this article here talks about, ways to kind of help you change your relationship with food. But one last thing before I start reading on this is I want to point out that if you do feel you have an issue with it, or you're finding yourself feeling shameful about your eating or whatever, go talk to your doctor. Or a therapist if you're already seeing one, or something to that effect. Sometimes, like the place I go, they have a nutritionist available. I can go see whenever I want to. Well, not whenever, but I make an appointment. But I can go see her. So you might be surprised. If you're in one of these places that's more than just like, a solo office where they're part of a bigger building or something, they may have something like that really available that you can work with. So, don't discount that. And again, like we talk about with any other mental illness or anything else, it's, if you feel you need help, please go get it. And, I know there's tons of information on the internet, but sometimes you just need someone to kind of point you the right way, and that may be what a therapist can help you with. Why are you feeling these feelings and whatever, I've talked with mine a little bit. It's something I still want to talk to her more about, but it's something I've talked with her a little bit about because it was a concern,
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, just please seek out help if you think you need it, especially if some of the stuff rings true to you in more of a, oh, I did that a few months ago. Like if you're like, man, I'm just finished this bag of chips, and I'm going to go get more, or whatever. I'm just using examples. We're, of course, not trying to shame anybody because as we've full on admitted here, we both have our own issues with it. So the first thing here, this is, it says here are 3 common sense tips to help you feed your hunger and not your emotions from dietitian Eve Lahajani. I probably butchered her name, and if so, she somehow is listening. I'm sorry. She says, imagine if eating were as simple as, say, refueling a car. You'd fill up only when the indicator nudged towards E. You couldn't possibly overdo it, or else your tank would overflow, and you'd never ever dream of using it as a treat. Instead, for many of us, eating is anything but straightforward. What starts out as a biological necessity quickly gets entangled with different emotions, ideas, memories, and rituals. Food takes on all kinds of meanings, as solace, punishment, appeasement, celebration, obligation, and depending on the day and our mood, we may end up overeating, undereating, or eating unwisely. It's time for us to rethink our relationship with food, says previously mentioned doctor whose name I don't want to butcher again, a Los Angeles-based dietitian and nutrition health educator at UCLA. She offers 3 common sense steps to help get there. And the first one is reconnect with your hunger. So many things drive us to eat. It's noon and that means lunchtime. It's midnight and that means snack time. We're happy, we're anxious, we'd rather not bring home leftovers. We're too polite to say no, we're bored, and oh wow, has someone brought in donuts? Similarly, we suppress our appetite for a myriad of reasons. We're too busy, we're sad, we're mad, nobody else is eating. It's too early, it's too late, we're too excited. The second part of that is something that I didn't even think about, but that I would really like to emphasize, because I know too many people who do that stuff. That pull the, it's after 7:00 at night, I can't eat anything. It's like, it's one thing if someone's like, hey, do you want a big slab of pie? And you're like, I probably shouldn't. It's getting late, blah, blah, But if you're hungry, and it's whatever time it is, if you're hungry, you eat something because your body's wanting something. Just try to choose as wisely as possible. Again, if you're actually hungry and it's 11:30 at night, half a container of ice cream or a pie or something's probably the wrong move. But try to find something with some protein or carbs or whatever, like oatmeal or something like that. Something that you at least feel comfortable.
And one thing that I think is a good place to kind of point that out is hunger is mimicked by a lot of things.
That's true too. Yeah.
Thirst is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So just be careful and really start paying attention to your body. Because are you really hungry or are you actually thirsty?
Yeah.
So, try drinking something like water or, another option, a low-cal option maybe.
Again, something that, just try not to eat something that's just nutritionally devoid,
Yeah.
Like, just try to find something that's at least, like an apple and some peanut butter, or, like whatever you kind of go with. But don't just ignore it. And I know there's probably a lot of people that do the fasting and stuff that are about it and whatever. But if you're not doing fasting, this is what we're talking about. If you're one of the people who do the intermittent fasting, then that's a whole different ball game, And again, if you're comfortable in doing the fasting, these things probably don't apply to you as much, They might, but probably not. Because you're already controlling your eating, But yeah, I got a brother who does the it's too late thing. Like if it's after a certain time, he will just refuse to eat, or he will eat like almost nothing. Like he used to eat like a piece of bread. That would be what he would eat. And I'm talking at like 7:00 at night. And it's like, dude, you're not going to bed for another 5 hours. Like, part of the way your energy level stays up is you have to eat a piece of bread. Your body burns up so fast that it's just really almost not worth eating, And if you put, a few slices of turkey or, some peanut butter on the bread or something like that, that's a little different. At least then you give yourself some substance. I'm just combining words like crazy tonight. Just give yourself some substance and essences. Ugh. Jeez. All right. So then it says, now try doing this. Eat only when you're hungry. Stop when you're full. It may seem obvious to you, concedes I wish they'd quit using her name.
Doctor.
Lahajani. Yeah, the nutritionist. Still, think over your past week. How many times did you eat when you weren't hungry? And, this is where like a food journal can kind of help with that. Again, be aware if you're the kind of person who will obsess over details, maybe food journaling is not, is exactly right for you. Again, talk to a therapist first, whatever, But she says, she suggests that we think about our hunger and our fullness on a 0 to 10 scale, with 0 to 1 being famished and 9 to 10 being painfully stuffed, as in holiday dinner stuff, she says. You want to begin eating when you first get hungry, and that correlates with the 3 or 4 on a scale, and to stop when you first get comfortably full, a 6 or 7 on the scale. Mm-hmm. The reason you shouldn't wait until you're starving is because that's when people tend to make nutritionally unsound choices. Like, I gotta eat now. Kind of a, so you grab whatever's near you. Yeah. If you've ever gone to the supermarket when you were ravenous, you probably didn't fill up your cart with produce. You gravitated towards the high-calorie, super-filling items. Pfft, never.
How dare she suggest such a thing?
She says it's also wise to eat when you first get hungry because you're more likely to enjoy your food, and you're more likely to eat mindfully. When you let yourself get too hungry, chances are you're eating really fast and not paying attention. In fact, one of the biggest predictors of overeating is letting yourself get too hungry in the first place. That's a really good point, because it is true. Like, and also try not to be distracted by other stuff when you're eating. I know I've talked on here before about, like, when it's lunchtime, it's lunchtime. It's not sit at your desk and work and have lunchtime. You know, take the time, go eat, get your mind off of it, focus on what you're eating, and enjoy your food. I loved when Heno and Angela talked about that in Angela's awesome podcast about trying to enjoy the food you're eating, you know, because it really is, like, I know for a fact I get up and I'm so hungry that whatever I put in front of me, I usually am just like, I'm not like I'm Cookie Monster, you know, eating a plate of cookies, and then usually I'm like, oh, why'd I eat so fast? Because I usually overeat, and I feel bad because feel bad is in physically bad, you know, because I've just eaten too fast. You know, so it doesn't, like, whereas if you take your time a little bit and enjoy what you're eating, your body has a chance to send those, you know, messages to your brain like, maybe we should pump the brakes here, you know?
Right.
Versus the way I was just describing, where it'll be, you know, you'll be done before that first message gets shipped to your brain that says, hey, maybe we should stop.
Exactly.
So it's like your brakes working after you hit a tree, you know? Whoops. So yeah, definitely listen to your body with that. I mean, you know, and we know, of course, obviously, you know, you can't always eat when you first get hungry, because, you know, I remember, like, obviously we can all probably remember, like, in school, you know, like, I'd have to be to school at 7:30. By like 10:30, 11, I'm starting to get hungry. My lunch isn't until 1 or 1:30, you know, and it's like, man, you know, so it's, you know, not always able to do that. Same with work. You know, there's always times when you're looking at the clock going, Jesus, is it time for lunch? You know, like, I got one more hour. But, whoops, there it is. The next one on here is feed your body what it is craving. When the doctor says a stressed out college and graduate student, her eating took one of two forms. She was either dieting or binging. As she says, whenever I was on a diet, the diet told me what to eat. While on a binge, she'd eat whatever was convenient or go all out on foods forbidden by her then diet. Developing a different relationship with food meant stepping out of those patterns. Instead of listening to others' opinions of what I should eat, I became silent and turned into my own body. She says, I fed my body what it was craving. It turns out what she craved wasn't junk food. She says, I was actually tasting things for the first time because my mind wasn't filled with judgment and guilt. I actually found that my body actually craved nurturing, nourishing foods like vegetables and fruits. I actually liked my sister's kale and quinoa salad. Lies. No, I'm kidding.
Kale and quinoa?
I mean, I'm not going to crave those things, but I can understand them tasting good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do that every once in a while. A few weeks ago, I went to a place that I got, it's a chain thing called Fusion. And they basically, you can get sushi, a bowl, or a salad with the ingredients. So it's basically the same the way Chipotle works. And I got a bowl there, and all the veggies were fresh and all this stuff. And, you know, as I'm eating it, I'm just like, man, this is really good. Like, this is really tasting good to me. And I realized that it's because the days before that, I'd eaten fast food a few times. I had eaten this other, you know, and it's like my body wanted fresh vegetables. It wanted real, like, those kind of things. The rice, the chicken, all that stuff tasted so good to me. So, you know, I can understand that, but like I said, I can't see myself ever craving kale and quinoa, but I will eat them both, you know.
Right.
So, but I get what she's saying about it, you know, because that probably is true. And you see that, like, if you watch or listen to the people who've given up, like, refined sugars or, you know, give up sugar as much as they can. how they say the same thing, that after a while it's like, I don't crave this garbage anymore. I really don't. So, or someone who gives up, soda or whatever, after a while they taste it and they're like, oh, it's terrible. Like, I don't even want it anymore. So, the next one here is try not to use food as a reward or punishment, which you already touched on. It says it's not surprising that we do this. After all, as children, we quickly learn that rejoicing and parties come with cake, while transgressions result in no cake. But one of the great things about being an adult is we can establish our own associations. By all means, let's continue to mark our birthdays with cake, or with fresh fruit and a stock pot of homemade veggie chili if that's what you prefer. Or celebrate in ways that have nothing to do with eating. You can set your own rules now. Yeah, you're an adult. You can get up and have a bowl of ice cream if you want to.
There you go.
Says when the doctor's fraught feelings about food eased, she was surprised to find these effects go beyond eating. What's really interesting is to see how making peace with food affected other areas of my life. As I learned how to listen to myself, I became better at listening to others. I became more empathetic, she says. As I made a point to trust myself, I became more trusting in my relationships and more vulnerable. And as I became more loving to myself, I learned what it meant to love someone else. And her TED Talk is, the video for it will be in the link that's in the show notes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good article, very solid points. I mean, I think these are things that we've heard before, but bear repeating.
One of the things
often.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things I want to point out with that last bit that I kind of wish you would have gone into a little bit, is a lot of times, like she did say with the whole, when you're young, good, celebration gets cake. But it's also like, there's a lot of parents that use dessert as a way to get their kids to eat better food. There's people who use dessert as a way to get their kid to do this or that, and sometimes whatever, like I've seen people, like when their kid uses the potty, when they're potty training, they'll give them a cookie or something. And there's all these different ways. And it's like, you can argue the merits on those, but there's some of the ways that it's like, you have to be careful doing that too much because, otherwise, we should try to eat well because it's a better way of eating, like not because there's a cookie at the end of it or a pie or whatever. Not to mention if you say, well, if you eat everything on your plate, you get this. Well, maybe that kid's overeating to get to that dessert, kind of a thing. So it's like, you got to be mindful of a lot of these things too. So just be careful with using it, especially with kids, but with yourself too, about using it as any sort of a reward. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with, hey, it's a birthday, cake time, or so-and-so's retiring, let's have a cake, like those kind of things. Sure. That's not a big deal, cause it's like, I don't know. It's like that guy worked 60 years just to get to that cake, it's, it doesn't work the same as when it's, hey, that kid stuffed themselves. Like it's weird, like the Clean Plate Club kind of concept, it's like on one hand I buy into it, but on the other hand I don't. And the main reason I don't is because a lot of times parents or people will put too much food on the kid's plate. But if the kid puts stuff on the plate, they won't put enough on there. And so the Clean Plate Club can get the kid to undereat or overeat depending on who's putting the food on the plate. But, like with me, there were a lot of times, like I was always encouraged, put a little on your plate, you can have more, but if you put something on your plate, we're still, pretty much expected to eat it because you don't want to waste. So, but the goal there was to be mindful of what you're putting on your plate. The problem is when you're a kid, you're not really mindful, like, oh, broccoli, 1 piece. Macaroni and cheese, 7 scoops.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
It really is when we're kids to get lost in that whole thing. So, and it's amazing how these things stick with us throughout our lives.
And that's the other part of it is, people don't realize that it's kind of these extreme views that they enact on kids can carry over and really mess you up as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you think you're doing the right thing, it can turn out to teach really bad habits that are hard to break as you move on through life. So, yeah, just, the goal should just be to teach good eating habits, get your kids to eat foods by offering them, variety and whatever. And by variety, I don't mean put 7 different things in front of them each night, but try to, I love, like Tony and Jeannie, they did it with their kids where they would go to the farmer's market and they would try to find something that they either hadn't had in a while or something they've never tried. Like that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of, goal to get, kids to where they'll eat that stuff and crave that stuff. So,
Not like my nieces that eat chicken nuggets and French fries.
Yeah.
They actually have a reward system right now for trying things because they're trying to increase their palates.
Mm-hmm.
So they get sticker whenever they try something new.
Okay.
They get a sticker on the chart, and at the end of the chart, they get a prize.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have less issue with that because you're not using food as the reward. Right. You're not like, well, if you take a bite of this, we'll give you, you get ice cream or whatever. So.
Yeah, I'm all for it and stuff, but
yeah,
the kids are 3 and 5.
Uh-huh.
Should have started when they were, 1 and 2, and when they're really little, versus allowing them to eat all the chicken nuggets and French fries. I am not a parent, so thus my opinion is very null and void.
No, that's not true at all. I refuse to buy into that. Anyone that wants to argue that with me, feel free. I will argue until we're both blue in the face. Just because I don't have kids doesn't mean I don't have valuable insight.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been around a lot of kids. You see things, you've read things. Everybody knows chicken nuggets and fries are not not a good meal for children, but people keep giving it to them because it's easy, Mm-hmm. And I get it. Who doesn't like chicken nuggets? Hell, I still get chicken nuggets and fries.
I do too. I should.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like I can't knock that, but yeah, I like you. I've been around people where that is all they feed their kids. And it's like, really? Like, you don't even try to get anything else in there? Like,
oh, they're so bad that they will only eat a certain brand of chicken nuggets.
Oh, that's easy enough to get around.
Yeah, so they end up having to bring chicken nuggets with them places.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's ridiculous. I remember my mom saying that, my siblings used to do that with oatmeal. They wouldn't eat the store brand, like instant oatmeal, but they would eat, I don't know, Quaker or whatever other brand, So she basically just saved the packages and would just lay them on the table. And they thought they were getting the name brand, and they weren't. They were getting store brand.
Nice.
I've known that with other people too, where you just put one thing in another container, and it's like, yeah, they don't know. My nephew would only eat one brand of mustard. My sister was buying store brand and just putting it in the French's bottle for years, and he never knew. So.
Hey, whatever works, right?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah. So there you go. So again, one last thing. If you feel like this stuff rings true to you, you need some help, please reach out. Don't try not to let it get too big of a grip on you.
Exactly. Well, with that, everybody, you know what time it is. If you'd like to continue the conversation with us, you know what to do. You can reach the show at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our email, or is our website. Our email is thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And you can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. If you want to hear more from me, you can listen to my other podcast, which is Shake the Sheets. It's a pop culture talk show that I do with my co-host Nate, and that's at shakethesheets.com. And you, Brian, how can they reach you?
You can also reach Henno at Ida Henno on Twitter or at Henno Heiter on Facebook. I don't know if they've changed the name of the show or not. His other podcast was Gotham Lights, then became Orville Lights. So I don't know. It used to be at Gotham Lights on Twitter. I haven't checked actually to see if that's changed. So, but either way, hit him up at Ida Henno if you want to find it. He can set you up with that. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. My other podcast can be found at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. And that show is definitely not safe for work, so make sure you are careful where you listen to it at, or, at least put the earbuds in. You can find the Facebook group for this show at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. You can also find this show on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. If you didn't know already, we can be found on Spotify. Also, just look for The Crazy Life. We're part of the Danger Entertainment Network, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net, and also the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out those networks, and you may find some other shows that you dig while you're there. I think, and because I haven't mentioned it in a while, our intro music is done by the lovely and talented co-host Henno, and, if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that. Because it's a good song. He did a fine job. And as I've said various times through the show, if you feel you need help, please reach out. There's all sorts of people that, are willing to help you. You just have to, reach out to them. And also make sure you check on your friends, the ones, especially the ones who've been going through a rough patch recently. But make sure you check on the ones that are always telling you that they're fine too, because sometimes that's just a mask. Just in general, just reach out to people and, tell them you care, tell them you love them, just check on them, see how they're doing, whatever. And then the last part is, that I usually say here is, try to be nicer to people. When you have the opportunity, try to choose kindness, and, let's just all do our little part to kind of, overturn the garbage that's going on in the world with this just seemingly, just more and more hate just being everywhere. Let's just try to, calm that down. It's so unnecessary. Just be nicer to people in general, and, make sure that you're also nice to yourself, because you deserve it too.
Well said. With that, everybody, go have a great week.